Coming up, an Ozark County woman receives sentencing for her role in the death of her daughter.
Looking at some rainfall out to the west. Will it make it here? And what do the temperatures look like for the weekend? The answer coming up.
And our own Jalen Banks takes us inside the Cornell complex, Joplin's new home for arts and culture under one roof.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Buck.
I'm Chris Warner. 5 a.m. on a finally Friday. We have something that we need to share with folks about Monday.
Oh yes, a little bit of a programming change for Monday morning. During our KOAM 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock hours, we will be airing the Queen's funeral, which will be underway in England. Yes.
Right. You got to remember they're, of course, on London time, so that's why it's so early here. So we will not be joining you bright and early at 5 a.m. Monday morning.
But we will have your complete news coverage and your weather starting at 7 a.m. on our sister station on KOA Morning News on Fox 14.
So you can still find us. Don't worry. We just, don't panic if you don't see us at 5 a.m. On the other hand, you might tune in at 5 a.m. and be like, oh, thank goodness they're not there today. You never know. I mean, it depends on your mood for a Monday.
We'll be here just behind the scenes.
Right. We'll be here. You just won't have to look at all of this right here for a couple of hours. Well, and here's the deal. You may not want to anyway, because I have a very unpleasant forecast.
Oh.
And it's a long ways out, but I was looking all the way into the first week of October. And of course, we're a long ways out. A lot can change. But right now, it's showing the possibility of, we're talking 90s the first week of October.
Oh,
and I looked at that and I said, please tell me this is going to change. This can't be right. Okay, rain out to the west. Unfortunately, what's happening with this rain is it is moving slightly to the north and east, and it is also starting to break apart. So it may clip some of our northwestern counties this morning, but the majority of us are going to remain dry. And that's how we are at 7th and Rangeline right now in Joplin. 63 degrees as we start the day. Take a look at temperatures across the area. We are a little bit warmer again. 65 Yates Center and Parsons, 63 Pittsburgh, Fort Scott, 64 Lamar and Nevada as we start the day. Still dealing with the allergy situation, and it is very unpleasant to deal with. 9.2 out of 12. I don't even know about tomorrow at this point because they forecasted some lower levels for the next day, and boy, we just creep right back up there. So we're going to go ahead and just say, let's average a 9.0 out of 12 for tomorrow. So again, if you've got allergies, do keep the medicine handy. Kids getting on the bus this morning. We're looking at a partly cloudy start to the day, 61, and the winds are going to start to pick up out of the south, 85 at 3 o'clock. Those winds gusting to 20 miles an hour. Going through the rest of today, gusty winds from the south, otherwise 91. Again, maybe an isolated storm or two through the noon hour, and then we get hot and we stay clear. And we stay clear through the night. Get some passing clouds overnight, and they clear back out. Overnight low of 64 degrees. We're going to talk the football forecast and the weekend forecast and everything else you need to know or may not necessarily want to know in terms of temperatures here in just a little bit.
All right. Well, it's definitely what we need to know.
You do need to know it. You just probably don't want to know it.
Hot.
Yeah, that's the underlying letter under nearly every icon on the 7-day forecast. Is hot.
Someday.
One of these days, it'll have to be fall.
Yeah.
Well, no, one of these days, it'll have to be winter.
Spring?
We don't get spring and fall. You know that. We get summer and winter.
Maybe it'll start becoming winter around my birthday in February.
I'd say there's a decent chance of that, but you don't.
At least
you never
fall
know.
by then, right?
Maybe a little bit of something cooler by February.
All right, thanks, Chris. Well, authorities in Parsons, Kansas discover an explosive device in a residential area. They say they received a call at around 2 p.m. on Thursday for a suspicious object in the 2700 block of Durr. When they arrived, they tested the device, and the result was positive for explosive material. The Kansas Highway Patrol Hazardous Device Unit came and disposed of the device. There's still no word yet on a suspect, and authorities urge anyone with information to contact the Parsons Police Department. An Ozark County woman gets a 4-year prison sentence on Thursday in connection with her daughter's death. Prosecutors had argued that Rebecca Rude drugged and beat her 16-year-old daughter, Savannah Leckie, back in 2017. But Rude's defense claimed Lecky killed herself and that Rude panicked and burned the body. A jury found her not guilty of first-degree murder back in July, but convicted her on a charge of abandoning a corpse. Since Rude spent the past 5 years since her arrest in jail, she will get credit for that time served and will soon be released. The whole state of Kansas is in a drought, but the city of Caney has declared a water emergency. In a story we broke yesterday on the KOAM Morning News, the city is asking citizens not to use water for anything other than to maintain health and personal hygiene. The mayor says they've been warning residents about this for about 30 days now, but some have not taken it seriously and have still been an example, have been, for example, watering their yards. The mayor says they have been prepared to go to this extent.
So we prepared by doing water conservation. So we asked the town when we first had a meeting that we needed to conserve water as best as possible. And then, of course, with no rain and coming in either up north or here in Caney has caused us to take the next step, which is going to be the water emergency class 2.
City is still unsure how long the emergency stage will last. The Harry M. Cornell Arts and Entertainment Complex is nearly finished. It'll be the new home for the Spiva Center for the Arts and Connect to Culture. Connect to Culture started in 2009. George A. Spiva helped establish the first arts center in Joplin in 1958.
Very strange from, kind of trying to fit all of those puzzle pieces together in the beginning and putting together that larger image of what arts and culture is in Joplin, trying to figure that out and then make it accessible to other people.
A grand opening celebration is scheduled for November 12th. Coming up later in our show, our own Jalen Banks gives us a look at the construction progress inside the Cornell complex. Well, Freeman Health System begins construction on a new office building. The $10 million project will feature 3 stories and more than 30,000 square feet of space. Officials say it will offer patients convenient access to dermatology services, general surgery, pain management, and urology. The new building will be near Freeman West, which officials say is beneficial for doctors.
To be able to do what I do, which is engineering construction, and do it for the betterment of our fellow human beings and the community is very satisfying. And we're not just building a warehouse or something, but it's something to help people.
Officials expect the building to be completed around November of next year. City of Joplin recently completed a housing study to identify needs of the community. Some of the results show that there is a highly competitive renter and ownership market. Something to also take away from the study, the demand for different types of housing.
Development. Currently we have a record number of multifamily units under production compared to previous years, and still a very highly competitive and high producing single family market as well.
One of the advantages to Joplin found in this study is the downtown area. Events and accessibility are key contributors.
All right, Friday night football forecast. It's going to be warm come kickoff. We're looking at about 80 degrees when they start the games tonight, 76 at halftime. Good news is it's good weather, mostly clear skies, and heading into the weekend, we still are looking hot. 93 Saturday, maybe some isolated storms in our northern counties. Otherwise, we stay dry. 96 on Sunday. They're partly cloudy skies, and this 7-day forecast, yeah, that's a 100-degree reading in September on Wednesday. We really heat up starting next week, and we stay dry. And I don't have any really good news, unfortunately. So watching the drought situation very closely because it may worsen over the next several days because we are going to be dry.
Not good for the folks in Caney.
No, not at all. It's not good for folks anywhere at this point with how dry it's going to be.
Very true. That's a look at this morning's top stories in weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, Thursday night action on the gridiron as the Colgan Panthers square off against the Riverton Rams. Chris will have your highlights in sports.
Plus, to tip or not to tip? That is the question.
To screen or leave loose change, technology is upping the pressure to leave a tip. I'm Elise Preston with the debate over how much gratuity to add and when.
And about 70 million Americans suffer from chronic sleep problems, but one expert says many of the tactics people use to fall asleep are doing more harm than good. You're watching the KOAM Morning News More Real News in the Morning. We'll be right back.
Well, this is week 3 of the high school football season in Southeast Kansas. Colgan Panthers hit the field for some Thursday night action, hosting Riverton for their home opener. Colgan is 1-1 coming into the night. On the other side, the Rams aim for their first win of the season. First quarter, Tucker Harrell throws it up. Colin Hyde is wide open into the end zone for the touchdown. Colgan goes up 6-0. Still in the first. You got to see this run. Clayton Adamson for the Panthers, going outside, nothing there, cuts back inside, only to go back outside. Then he's off. 65 yards for Adamson. That gets the Colgan lead to 12-0. Colgan's defense really strong in the first half. Harrell makes a play for the interception. Panthers get the ball in the second. Cooper Simmons knew he'd show up in these highlights at some point. He gets loose, 26 yards to score. Colgan starts to pull away. Back to that Panther defense. It's Simmons getting the interception this time. Gets a nice return, takes it back into Riverton territory. Another turnover for Colgan, and they take advantage of it. Harrell floats it to the end zone. Connor Van Beesler is there for the touchdown. Colgan rolls over Riverton 54-14. At the college level, this weekend is Family Weekend for the Pittsburg State Gorillas. Pitt State hosts the Northeastern State Riverhawks on Saturday night. Gorillas are 2-0 this season after beating 11th-ranked Nebraska Kearney last weekend. With that win, Pitt State has cracked the national rankings, sitting at number 16 heading into Saturday. Quarterback Chad Dodson Jr. threw for 301 yards and 4 touchdowns against the Lopers, earning MIAA Offensive Player of the Week honors. Here's his head coach, Brian Wright, on if that performance was the best he's seen so far from his sophomore QB.
I think so, yep. It was, and I think as an offensive staff, we put together a plan for him, too, to go out and execute and have some success as well, and put him in maybe some better situations than we had in the past, and tried to spread it out a little bit more and let him take what the defense gives you, and he did a great job of that.
Just his confidence has just gone through the roof, even through these first 2 games. You can even kind of see it in practice, like his balls have been kind of catchable, just nice, and he's just trying to aim it in there, but now when we're out there, he's just ripping it in there, and you're like, oh, okay.
Finally, big one for the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs play their home opener against the Chargers in a big early season AFC West matchup. Chiefs win this one 27-24. Patrick Mahomes throws for 235 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jalen Watson had a 99-yard pick 6 in the third, and that gave the Chiefs their first lead for the game. Still to come, Putin answers to Chinese President Xi Jinping about Russia's war effort and lack of progress. Plus, got to check out your forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. All right, so we've got some rain out there. Unfortunately, it's really not going to do much for us. You can see it off to the west on the Skywatch storm tracker. Since the last couple hours, see it's circling around, and it's eventually going to drag off to the northeast and clip some of our northwestern counties. But the rest of us, the majority of us, are going to remain very dry, and that rain, by the time it gets here, it's not going to have a lot with it when it gets to our northwestern counties, unfortunately. We are mostly clear in Joplin. 63 is where we are right now. We've got 60s across the area. We've got 65 Yates Center and Parsons and Columbus, 63 Pittsburgh, Fort Scott, 64 Lamar, and 63 in Carthage as we start the day. Also still dealing with serious allergies out there. We've got a 9.2 out of 12 for today and a forecasted 8.3 out of 12 for tomorrow. Getting on the bus, 7 a.m., going to be partly cloudy for most of us, 61 degrees. South breeze 5 to 10. We're going to start to see gusts upward of 20, and it's going to stay gusty throughout the day. When kids come home, 85 and partly cloudy skies. Going through the rest of the day, it's going to be a hot one. We will warm up to 91, Maybe some isolated storms again running until about the noon hour. Then we clear out. Most of us stay dry anyway. Staying dry tonight as well. Overnight low of 64 degrees. The football forecast, the thing everybody wants to know for tonight. We're looking at good weather on the field, which is a good thing. 80 at kickoff, 76 at halftime under mostly clear skies. And going into the weekend, boy, it gets hot. Still looking at a chance of maybe some isolated storms on Saturday. Most of us, again, remaining dry. 93, 96 on Sunday with partly cloudy skies. We do certainly start to get hot, and we do have some warmer nights ahead as we get to the lower 70s for overnight lows. Well, tipping can be a touchy subject. Originally meant to acknowledge standout service, nowadays the virtual tip jar seems to be everywhere. Technology has made it even easier to request or suggest gratuities, but as Elise Preston reports, generosity that peaked during the pandemic is starting to drop off.
I work in healthcare. Nobody tips me.
Sisters Leslie and Susan don't agree on tipping when it comes to purchases outside of a full-service restaurant.
Sometimes I tip just because they're nice to me, but seriously, I don't feel pressure.
Leslie feels it. She says even when swiping her card at kiosks, she always gives a little extra.
You didn't do anything. I just walked up to the window and bought it, but you're turning around like for me to leave you a tip. Okay.
I almost feel like I'm suckered in. You know, like I gotta give something, like I'm under pressure a little bit.
A recent survey shows tipping for takeout food peaked at the height of the pandemic. While that fell off, it's still up from 2019.
You know, with the pandemic, everything changed. Curb service, what were meant to be temporary fixes are now standards. So there is a gratuity that is often expected that goes along with that.
On average, Americans are tipping nearly 20% for sit-down meals. Gratuities dropped to about 14% on other goods and services. And etiquette expert Diane Gottsman says that's okay.
You're not expected to leave the same type of gratuity as you would if you're at a sit-down meal. But if you're grabbing a cup of coffee, if you just want to leave the change, if you want to tip up, or if you want to leave $1, by all means, feel free to do that.
While you may feel like you're being judged, Gottsman says the worker behind the counter may just be looking to help the next customer. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
That brings us to our morning talker. How much do you tip? Do you not tip? Maybe you tip up to 5%, 5 to 10, 10 to 20%. Maybe you tip a little more. We want to hear from you. Make sure you vote at our website, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Do so in the app. Take part in the discussion on our Facebook page. And we'll be back with Healthwatch right after this.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, about 70 million Americans suffer from chronic sleep problems, and that's according to the CDC. Not getting enough sleep can take its toll on your health, but one expert says many of the tactics people use to fall asleep are doing more harm than good. Mandy Gaither has more on the things you can do every day to help you get better sleep at night.
Catching those Z's. Sometimes it's easier said than done.
Without a good night's sleep, it can affect both our mental and our physical health.
Between 2018 to 2021, Dr. Anissa Doss says there was a 29% increase in referrals to the Center for Insomnia at Ohio State's Wexner Medical Center.
I think it's a bigger problem than folks realize.
Doss says some common tactics may not be helping. First, going to bed early may leave you tossing and turning. Climb in only when you're ready to sleep. Also, get up about the same time every day.
Don't sleep in for 3 hours on the weekend, because then we're giving ourselves what we call social jet lag. It's no different from flying from New York to California for the weekend and then giving ourselves jet lag when we come back. So trying to be really consistent to keep that circadian clock in line.
After the sun sets, Doss says try to decrease artificial light exposure from TVs, smartphones, or other screens. But when the sun's up, get as much natural light as possible to help with sleep rhythms. Exercise is also key to helping you feel sleepy at night. It can also help reduce stress, another factor that causes lack of sleep. 2 things to avoid: large fatty meals late before bed. That kind of food can keep you up. And alcohol may help you nod off, but Dawes says it also leads to fragmented sleep.
Dr. Dawes says keeping your bedroom cool, dark, and quiet can also help create a serene environment perfect for sleep. If you're having difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep and it lasts for several months, she says to talk to your primary care doctor to see if a treatment may be right for you or if there are changes you can make to help you sleep better. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Well, I know for some, rain helps you sleep a little better, but unfortunately, we haven't seen a lot lately, and we're not going to. Kids getting on the bus this morning. Let's get in here. Partly cloudy skies, south wind 5 to 10. We're going to start to see gusts increasing upwards of 20 miles an hour. Partly cloudy, 85 by the time they get home at 3. And as we go through the rest of the day, we got a hot one in store. We may still see a lingering storm or two through the noon hour. Most of us staying dry and mostly clear, 91 for the high. We stay partly cloudy tonight, 64 for an overnight low. Getting on the football field tonight, it's going to be a warm one, but we've got good weather in store. 80 at kickoff, 76 at halftime. And this weekend, again, maybe an isolated storm or two Saturday. Most of us dry, 93 on Saturday, 96 on Sunday, and partly cloudy. And a quick check of that 7-day forecast. See where we heat up, and yes, that is a 100-degree reading in September. We stay hot, we stay dry through most of next week. Not good news for the drought situation whatsoever, which we'll be keeping a very close eye on. We're back right after this.
Coming up, an Ozark County woman receives sentencing for her role in the death of her daughter.
We are watching showers and thunderstorms out to our west that may clip our northwestern counties. We're going to stay dry. We're going to stay hot. We'll talk about all of that coming up.
And our own Jalen Banks takes us inside the Cornell complex, Joplin's new home for arts and culture, all under one roof.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's now 5:30. I'm Tanya Buck.
I'm Chris Warner. So there's a lot to talk about weather-wise, as crazy as that seems with how dry we're going to be. But that's one of the things that we've got to talk about is how dry we're going to be, because we all know the drought situation is pretty bad in the area. And unfortunately, we're not seeing any relief in sight. In fact, things are looking to only get worse over the next several days. And of course, we know the situation in Caney, Kansas as well with their water emergency. And it's not going to improve, unfortunately. Taking a look at the Skywatch storm tracker, over the last couple hours, you can see this batch of showers and thunderstorms out to our west. It's slowly moving off to the north and east, and it may clip some of our northwestern counties, but it's really not going to bring us a lot in the way of rainfall today. We are clear in Joplin, and we are starting off decently at least, 63 degrees. We've got 60s across the area, 61 in Independence, 65 Parsons, 64 Carthage, and 65 in Stockton as we start the day. Also dealing with allergies. They're still in the moderately high category, 9.2 out of 12 today, forecasted 8.3 out of 12 tomorrow. Kids getting on the bus, 61, partly cloudy, south wind 5 to 10, gust up to 20, and it'll stay gusty through the day, 85 at 3 o'clock, partly cloudy as they head home. Now, we may still see an isolated storm or two through the noon hour, an afternoon high of 91, otherwise most of us staying dry and mostly clear. Partly cloudy skies tonight, 64 for the overnight low. Heading into football for Friday night, the one advantage here is we've got good weather on the field. We're looking at 80 at kickoff, 76 at halftime under mostly clear skies. And through the weekend, maybe an isolated storm or two Saturday. Again, most of us staying dry. 93 Saturday, 96 Sunday. It's going to get hot, and we are going to stay dry for the next several days, unfortunately. Rain chances we were watching Thursday just continue to dwindle, but we're watching them. It looks like they've kind of shifted a couple of days back through next weekend. So we're going to keep an eye on that as well and just see if any of that changes, because we desperately need some rain around here.
Yeah, that's for sure. We desperately need it. You talked about the situation in Caney. They're asking people to conserve there.
Yeah, and at this point, it's no longer them asking. They're saying you need to conserve,
or pay
there
a
will
fine.
be there will be penalties if you don't. That's just one small example of how serious the drought situation is here in the 4 states. And like I said, the drought tracker updates every so often. I'm just concerned it's going to worsen. In places we saw some improvement thanks to rain a couple of weeks ago, I think it's going to worsen over the next several days, because we've got highs pushing 100 degrees next week with no rain inside.
The extremes have been so great this year. It's just, it's incredible.
It's been an unpleasant summer so far for everybody in the 4 states.
All right, thanks, Chris. One Ozark County woman gets a 4-year prison sentence on Thursday in connection with her daughter's death. Prosecutors had argued that Rebecca Rood drugged and beat her 16-year-old daughter, Savannah Leckie, in 2017. But Rood's defense claimed Leckie killed herself and that Rood panicked and burned the body. A jury found her not guilty of first-degree murder back in July, but convicted her on a charge of abandoning a corpse. Now, since Rude spent the past 5 years in jail since her arrest, she'll get credit for that time served and will soon be released. Spiva Center for the Arts and Connect to Culture bring arts and entertainment to Joplin. KOAM's Jalen Banks has how the two places are coming together under one roof.
The Spiva Center for the Arts and Connect to Culture have been staples in the Joplin community for bringing art and music. Now they will be joining homes together in the Harry M. Cornell Arts and Entertainment Complex. The complex is under construction and will be completed this fall.
With community coming together to support the arts means so much to both Spiva and Connect to Culture. It shows that it's alive and well in Joplin and the surrounding areas.
The hope is now under one roof. The two entities will be able to usher in the new era of arts in Joplin.
Very strange from, kind of trying to fit all of those puzzle pieces together in the beginning and putting together that larger image of what arts and culture is in Joplin, trying to figure that out and then make it accessible to other people.
With the Cornell complex providing more space and amenities, it'll open up more doors and opportunities.
More classes, more outreach. We'll be able to have bigger exhibits come in from the outside area that maybe we weren't able to have before because of the climate control issues. Here we have climate controlled rooms, both humidity and temperature, so that will allow us to bring in really famous artists from around.
In Joplin, Jalen Banks, KOAM News.
Cornell Center is set to open November 12th. Representatives of Arvest Bank present a $5,000 check on behalf of the Arvest Foundation to members of Shine Joplin. Shine Joplin is an organization that provides a sense of belonging for adults with disabilities. An organizer says this will help the disabled community.
What we wanted to do was provide them an opportunity to work, to live, and to thrive within the community. So we go beyond work. We offer a faith-based program. We promote physical exercise, and we have programs for that. We also provide service projects in the community.
The grant will be used to purchase new engraving equipment, which will be used to train participants to make engravings and other decorative items that can be sold. Social House Entertainment is preparing for the 4-State Music Festival, Pittsburgh State University's first ever country music festival. Now, the festival will feature artists like Chase Rice and Cameron Marlowe. An event organizer says there will be something for everyone.
We've got country music artists, we've got food vendors, retail vendors, we've got VIP lounge, we've got all the cool aspects, art installations, photo ops that you would get at like a 3 or 4 day music festival, but we do it in one day. So you get that true festival experience instead of just going to a concert.
The gates open this afternoon at 5 p.m. Well, this morning we're discussing the great tipping debate. Now, tipping can be a touchy subject. Originally meant to acknowledge standout service, seems like the virtual tip jar has popped up everywhere. Even before your service, there is an expectation of a tip. So when do you tip and how much? On average, Americans are tipping nearly 20% for sit-down meals, but gratuities drop to about 14% on other goods and services. And at least one etiquette expert says that's okay. So what about you? How much do you tip? You have a couple of options to pick from. I don't tip at all. 5%, up 5 to 10%, 10 to 20%, or do you tip more than that? Please join the KOAM discussion on our Facebook page and go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com/vote to weigh in. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News. Therapy dogs are a special breed, but we're going to introduce you to one who might be a little more special as a cancer survivor himself.
Talking weather across the area. We've got warm temperatures coming up. We're going to take a look at all of that here soon.
And Mexicans celebrate the anniversary of the beginning of their struggle for independence. We'll have the latest. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping World Watch, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says authorities have found a mass burial site in a newly liberated city in the Kharkiv region. Deborah Pata is in Ukraine.
Volodymyr Zelensky braving liberated towns near the front line, paying tribute to his soldiers. In striking contrast, Vladimir Putin desperately needing allies who's yet to visit his troops on the ground. But Putin has exacted his revenge, sending missiles to Zelensky's hometown of Kryvyi Rih that smashed into a dam, flooding surrounding areas. The president condemned the strike as the work of weaklings who'd fled the battlefield. In the liberated areas, it's civilians who've paid a heavy price during the long months of Russian occupation.
Izium was shelled for weeks on end, and everywhere we've gone, there's just been utter devastation. This behind me is the local city hall, and over there, a hospital. Clearly not a military target.
The Kremlin attempted to erase every trace of Ukrainian identity. They burned our books, destroyed our schools, removed our TV channels, and put on Moscow's propaganda, Yulia Kuzyobenko told us. Some even collaborated with the Russian forces, like her ex-husband, whom she's denounced as a traitor, saying he's dead to her.
Ukraine is now trying to extend its counteroffensive towards the east. Zelensky has called on Western countries to continue supplying weapons. Now they've proved they know how to use them effectively. Deborah Pata, CBS News, Kharkiv, Ukraine.
Mexicans celebrate the anniversary of the beginning of the struggle for their country's independence. A historical day for Mexicans. It is the beginning of the independence movement, which happened on September in the year 1810 in Dolores Hidalgo, Guanajuato. Celebrations include presentations by artists in the public squares of the country and the traditional cry of independence by President Manuel Andres Lopez Obrador. They'll be given in the Zacola of Mexican City. Among the president's special guests are Evo Morales, Jose Mujico, Che Guevara's daughter, and the relatives of Julian Assange and Martin Luther King. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Here's Chris with a full look at your forecast.
All right, take a look at the bus stop forecast. As kids get on the bus at about 7 a.m., we're looking at 61 degrees, south breeze 5 to 10, but we're going to start to see it pick up with gusts upward of 20. It'll stay gusty through the day. We'll be partly cloudy at 85 degrees when the kids get off the bus. And we go through today, it's going to be a hot one. We're looking at maybe an isolated storm or two through the noon hour, most of us staying dry. We got mostly clear skies otherwise with a high of 91 degrees. As we head into tonight, we're partly cloudy with an overnight low of 64 degrees. And for football tonight, we're looking at good weather, which is it's the only part of this that's any good news, unfortunately. 80 at kickoff, 76 at halftime, mostly clear skies. And we head into the weekend, another slight chance of a storm or two on Saturday. Otherwise, we stay mostly clear, hot, 93, 96 on Sunday. And a look at the trash can forecast. With today's wind, your trash can may get knocked over. More importantly, the future track, which is what is the most concerning. You can see the stray possible shower or two on Saturday. And then you see nothing but hot temperatures for the next several days on this future track. We were hopeful for this cold front Thursday to help bring temperatures down and maybe bring us some rain, but right now that's looking less likely. It may still bring temperatures down a bit, but it's not going to bring us any rain, and we're not looking at any halfway decent rain chances until next weekend. All right, slight chance of rain tomorrow. Then look at this. I mean, we're talking a 100-degree temperature in September. As temperatures continue to rise through next week, we stay hot, we stay dry. We've got more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Authorities in Parsons, Kansas discover an explosive device in the 2700 block of Durr at around 2 p.m. on Thursday. When they arrived, they tested the device and the result was positive for explosive material. Kansas Highway Patrol Hazardous Device Unit disposed of the device. An Ozark County woman receives 4-year prison sentence in connection with her daughter's death. Prosecutors had argued that Rebecca Rude drugged and beat her 16-year-old daughter Savannah Leckie in 2017. A jury found her not guilty of first-degree murder in July, but convicted her on a charge of abandoning a corpse. Scores of images and videos have emerged in recent days of Russian tanks, armored vehicles, and other military equipment abandoned by forces in their hasty retreat from the Kharkiv region. Analysts say that Russia's tank division may have lost half of its combat power, and the Ukrainian military says that 590 pieces of Russian equipment were destroyed. And 20-time Grand Slam champion Roger Federer is hanging up his racket. In a post on social media Thursday, Federer announced his retirement from competitive tennis. Federer said next week's Laver Cup in London will be his last ATP event. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
All right, let's take a look at that forecast you need to know before you head out the door. We are starting today with clear skies, 63 degrees in Joplin. We got 60s across the area. A chance for maybe some showers to pass our northwestern counties, but it's not going to have a lot of rain with it. Most of us are going to stay dry. 64 Yates Center, 62 Chanute, 65 Parsons, and 64 in Carthage. We're also dealing with allergies as well. They continue to remain moderately high. 9.2 out of 12 today, 8.3 out of 12 tomorrow. Kids getting on the bus this morning, partly cloudy skies, 61, gusty south winds starting to pick up, 85, partly cloudy when they come home. Going through today, getting an isolated storm or two possible through noon. Most of us dry, mostly clear, 91 for a high. Heading into tonight, we get partly cloudy skies, overnight low of 64 degrees, and the 7-day forecast shows another slight chance of a storm or two Saturday, otherwise dry. And we heat up, temperatures pushing 100 degrees next week under mostly clear skies. We're back right after this.
Therapy dogs are not new, but a Nebraska pup can connect better than most.
Dude and his owner visit with cancer patients once a week. It's something he's familiar with since he also recovered from cancer recently.
Aaron Hartley has the story.
Dude isn't your average canine.
You are so sweet. Oh, hi, thank you.
He's a therapy dog and brings a smile to almost anyone he meets. Dude and owner Linda have been coming to Methodist Hospital since 2017, meeting with cancer patients once a week. As you can see, he's a popular pup, even among hospital staff. But he hasn't always been a healthy dog.
He started out having mega esophagus, they call it mega E, where they regurgitate their food. And then soon after that, he quit eating, and he lost 10 pounds in 15 days and was finally diagnosed with Addison's disease. At the same time, he was diagnosed with a hypothyroid.
And the past few months, Dude can relate to what these patients are going through.
We noticed this growth in his mouth, and it turned out to be oral cancer. It grew from the size of like a kidney bean to about the size of a mini pepper in about 6 weeks. And it grew so rapidly, people thought, oh, it's just a cyst. Well, then when we had it removed, they sent it in for testing and found out it was cancer.
For cancer patients like Colleen Nieto, Dude brightens her day.
Brings your spirits up because you're just sitting here. I'm gonna cry. Just doing nothing.
But knowing he's also fought cancer helps remind patients they're not alone.
And I think when they hear that, they kind of sit back like, oh, I'm not the only one. And I think it just makes them connect a little bit better, realizing that, everybody can get cancer.
It's just crazy how pets and dogs, like, they know that there's something wrong with someone. I mean, it came straight to me. So, out of everyone that was in here.
Whether it's a smile or a shake, he's there as a friend to everyone.
It just means, a lot to me, too, to know that Dude can bring so much happiness, even for, such a short amount of time.
Now, Nortline says Dude will continue to visit patients for as long as he can.
Certainly an interesting dog, and it's a great connection too, since he recovered from cancer as well. And I think some people forget that animals can get cancer.
That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just restricted to humans. We got another check of your forecast right after this. All right, we've got some showers and thunderstorms out to our west, so let's take a look at those. You can see on the loop over the last couple hours, first off, how they died. Now, we are watching some redevelopment along the state line, but most of this activity is going to rotate off to the northeast and clip our northwestern counties, which means most of us dry, and even the rain that we get probably won't be a lot. 7th and range line, we got clear skies to start the day in Joplin. 64 degrees is where we are right now. And across the area, we've got 60s, 55 though in Grove and Anderson, so a little bit cooler, 54J. We got 62 Independence, 65 Parsons, and 64 in Lamar. Allergies also something we are dealing with. They are very bad. They're going to remain that way, unfortunately, for a while. 9.2 out of 12 today, 8.3 out of 12 for tomorrow is the expectation for pollen counts. So if you've got allergies, stay indoors, and if you got to be outdoors, keep the allergy medicine with you. Getting on the bus, partly cloudy, 61, south breeze 5 to 10, gust to 20. It's going to be gusty today, 85 and partly cloudy at 3 o'clock. Going through the rest of today, again, an isolated storm or two possible for our northern counties through noon. Otherwise, everybody else dry, everybody else clear, 91 degrees for a high. We have partly cloudy skies tonight. We're going to drop back down to 64. For Friday night football, the one positive to the dry weather is it's good for Friday night football. 80 at kickoff, 76 at halftime. It's warm, but it is otherwise mostly clear. We heat up in the weekend. Another slight chance of storms Saturday, 93, and then 96 Sunday. And again on Saturday, most of us are going to stay dry. The future track shows where we might get that isolated storm or two on Saturday. We stay dry, we stay hot. There was a cold front coming in on Thursday that we were hoping would bring us some rain, but as we head into Thursday, you can see that frontal boundary. You can also see where it brings temperatures down a bit, but it really doesn't bring us any rain. And the 7-day forecast shows us just how hot it's going to get. Temperatures continue to rise through next week, pushing 100 degrees by midweek, and overnight lows hanging out in the lower 70s. We're back after this.
Coming up, authorities in Parsons, Kansas find an explosive device.
Got a few showers and thunderstorms out to our west that may clip our northwestern counties. Most of us dry, all of us hot. The full forecast coming up.
And the city of Caney, Kansas declares a water emergency.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. I'm Tanya Bach.
I'm Chris Warner. It is at least a decent start to the day across the area for most of us. It's going to be a very hot week ahead. And it's not good news for the drought. It's not good news for Caney, Kansas. It's not good news for anyone unless you've got outdoor activities. But even then, the temperatures that we've got in the 7-day, not so good either. So right now, 7th and Rangeline, it's clear. And it is mild, 64 degrees as we start the day. So again, not a bad start. 65 in Yates Center, 64 in Columbus, 65 in Carthage, and 60 in Monette. We also have allergies to deal with. Still a battle for folks out there. 9.2 out of 12 today, moderately high tomorrow, 8.3 out of 12. Now kids, get on the bus. We're going to have a south breeze about 5 to 10. It's going to start gusting to 20. 61, partly cloudy at 7 a.m. And then it's 85, partly cloudy at 3 with that gusty south breeze. Going through the rest of today, we're looking at 91 for an afternoon high. Again, an isolated storm or two possible in our northern counties. Otherwise dry and mostly clear. Tonight, we're going to drop back down to 64 for an overnight low under partly cloudy skies, and then that 7-day forecast. Isolated storm possible Saturday. Otherwise, we get close to, if not reaching, 100 degrees heading into next week under mostly clear and dry conditions. Our next best shot of rain, you can see we do get a cool down from that front Thursday. But our next shot of rain isn't until sometime next weekend. We're looking at Sunday of next weekend before we may see any rain. So definitely not the news that we want to hear. I mean, if anything changes, if we look and there's something that comes up, maybe a storm system can roll through here, that'd be great. But right now, we're looking to stay hot and very dry over the next several days.
I feel like we keep pushing those rain chances back to where they're a week away. Oh, just one more week away. And we keep saying one more week away.
Yeah, and that's what really stinks. You know, that cold front on Thursday we were hoping would be able to draw in enough moisture to fire off some showers and thunderstorms. But right now, it's not looking likely. And as you can see, it does help with temperatures, but that's about all it does. And we have another system trying to come in next weekend that might bring us some rain on Sunday. But it's hot, it's dry, and it's not good news one way or the other. And I'm concerned about the next update of the drought tracker come next week, what that's going to look like. For the area.
It's hard to believe it's almost the end of September and we're going to be hitting temperatures near 100 degrees again.
Yeah, and long range, I mean, this is still far down the road, but long range is showing 90s for the first week of October. The first week of October. in the 90s. So hopefully that changes. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that as we get closer, that gets refined a little bit. But I mean, it's been a hot summer, and the heat just does not want to let go of us, and it also doesn't want to give us any rain either.
That's very true. All right, thanks, Chris. Well, a crash near Springfield, Missouri leaves one person seriously injured. 66-year-old Robert Van Glider of Willard, Missouri was driving his Harley-Davidson motorcycle when he turned into the path of 22-year-old Joseph Brown's 2003 Dodge Stratus. Van Glider was seriously injured and transported to Mercy Hospital in Springfield via ambulance. Authorities in Parsons, Kansas discover an explosive device in a residential area. They say they received a call around 2 p.m. on Thursday for a suspicious object in the 2700 block of Durr. When they arrived, they tested the device, and the result was positive for the explosive material. The Kansas Highway Patrol Hazardous Device Unit came and disposed of the device. There's still no word yet on a suspect, and authorities urge anyone with information to contact the Parsons Police Department. An Ozark County woman gets a 4-year prison sentence on Thursday in connection with her daughter's death. Prosecutors had argued that Rebecca Rude drugged and beat her 16-year-old daughter, Savanda Leckie, in 2017. But Rude's defense claimed Leckie killed herself and that Rude panicked and burned the body. A jury found her not guilty of first-degree murder back in July, but convicted her on a charge of abandoning a corpse. Since Rude spent the past 5 years since her arrest in jail, she will get credit for that time served and will soon be released. Well, the entire state of Kansas is in a drought, but the city of Caney has declared a water emergency. In a story we broke yesterday on the KOAM Morning News, the city is asking citizens not to use water for anything other than to maintain health and personal hygiene. Mayor says they've been warning residents about this for about 30 days now, but some have not taken it seriously and have still been, for example, watering their yards. The mayor says they've been prepared to go to this extent.
So we prepared by doing water conservation. So we asked the town when we first had a meeting that we needed to conserve water as best as possible. And then, of course, with no rain and coming in either up north or here in Caney, has caused us to take the next step, which is going to be the water emergency class 2.
City is still unsure how long the emergency stage will last. Freeman Health System begins construction on a new office building. The $10 million project will feature 3 stories and more than 30,000 square feet of space. Officials say it will offer patients convenient access to dermatology services, general surgery, pain management, and urology. The new building will be near Freeman West, which officials say is beneficial for doctors.
To be able to do what I do, which is engineering construction, and do it for the betterment of our fellow human beings and the community is very satisfying. And we're not just building a warehouse or something, but it's something to help people.
Officials expect the building to be completed around November of next year. City of Joplin recently completed a housing study to identify needs of the community, and some of the results show there is a highly competitive renter and ownership market. Something to also take away from the study, the demand for different types of housing.
Development. Currently we have a record number of multifamily units under production compared to previous years, and still a very highly competitive and high producing single family market as well.
One of the advantages to Joplin found in the study is the downtown area. Events and accessibility are key contributors. It's officially National Hispanic Heritage Month. The Pitt State student-led Hispanic organization, Hispanics of Today, held a celebration last night to kick off the start of the celebration month. Celebrating Hispanic heritage at college can make some students feel at home.
I think the need is very strong. We do have a community here in Pittsburgh, but many people who come from different places grew up in a very bigger Hispanic community. So when they come here and they don't see their culture, they get a little shy and don't want to go out and do things.
Hispanics of Today is planning more on-campus events throughout Hispanic Heritage Month. Today, back in 1940, the United States imposes the draft. The Burke-Wadsworth Act was passed by Congress by wide margins in both houses, and the first peacetime draft in the history of the United States was also imposed. Selective service was born. Registration of men between the ages of 21 and 36 began exactly 1 month later as Secretary of War Henry L. Stimson, who had been a key player in moving the Roosevelt administration away from a foreign policy of strict neutrality, began drawing draft numbers out of a glass bowl. The numbers were handed to the president, who read them aloud on public announcement. There were some 20 million eligible young men. 50% were rejected in the very first year, either for health reasons or illiteracy. In 1942, the draft ages expanded from 18 to 37, and black men were passed over for the draft because of racist assumptions about their abilities and the viability of a mixed-race military. Let's look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, a church in Birmingham, Alabama celebrates a historic event. It happened to them 59 years ago. Plus, you've heard of a neighborhood watch, but have you heard of a neighborhood roof watch? We're going to take you to an Arizona community that has it, and how a rich diet could help prevent those with type 2 diabetes from dying. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. Topping Nation Watch this morning, Thursday was the 59th anniversary of the deadly bombing at the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama. The church held a remembrance ceremony in honor of the anniversary. The bomb blast during church services on September 15th, 1963 killed 4 African-American girls and left at least 14 others injured. Riots broke out after the bombing and 2 African-American boys were killed. It was a flashpoint in the civil rights movement, galvanizing the will of activists and reformers nationwide. 50 years later, the 4 girls killed, Addie Mae Collins, Denise McNair, Carol Robertson, and Cynthia Wesley, were awarded Congressional Gold Medals. 3 former Ku Klux Klan members were eventually convicted of murder for the bombing. President Biden is criticizing Republican governors who have sent buses and planes of migrants to so-called sanctuary cities in the Northeast. Just yesterday, buses arrived outside the vice president's residence in Washington, a day after planes filled with migrants landed on Martha's Vineyard. And the governors are promising more are on the way. Bradley Blackburn has the latest.
2 planes landed Wednesday on the wealthy Massachusetts island Martha's Vineyard, carrying dozens of migrants who came to the U.S. seeking a better life. One of them, Luis Fonseca, told reporters he did not know he would end up here. They told me there was a work opportunity. He says, we were going to a city but ended up staying here. The flights were arranged by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, whose state has earmarked $12 million to send, quote, unauthorized aliens to Democrat strongholds.
Every community in America should be sharing in the burdens and shouldn't all fall on a handful of red states.
DeSantis and Republican governors from Arizona and Texas are intensifying their efforts to move migrants to so-called sanctuary cities. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has already bused more than 10,000 here to New York, to Chicago, and to Washington, D.C. That's where yesterday 100 more were dropped off near the vice president's residence at the Naval Observatory. Aid workers said they scrambled to help.
We just got word that the bus was going to be here, so we had to all move here.
Last night, President Biden called the transports a political stunt.
Instead of working with us on solutions, Republicans are playing politics with human beings, using them as props. What they're doing is simply wrong. It's un-American. It's reckless.
The White House said federal officials got no warning about the transports to Washington and Massachusetts. At the southern border, migrant apprehensions are set to surpass 2 million this fiscal year, an all-time high. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
The White House added that while the Department of Homeland Security and local governments were not alerted about this week's transports, Fox News had a camera in position to document the arrival in Washington and also had video from Martha's Vineyard. That's a look at some of today's top national stories. We'll be right back.
All right, we are looking at some showers and even a few rumbles of thunder out to the west. And these may end up clipping our western and northwestern counties because, as you see on the loop, it's starting to loop around, then it'll head off to the northeast, but we may still see some rain out there, and if they see some rain, I know they'll be very welcoming to it, because most of us are going to remain dry. 7th and Range line, we are clear, and temperatures are at least looking good for now. 64 degrees in Joplin. We got 60s across the area. 65 Yates Center, 63 Chanute, 64 Columbus, 65 in Carthage as we start the day. We also have to talk about allergies because they are bad and they are not getting any better. We got a 9.2 out of 12 today, 8.3 forecasted out of 12 tomorrow. It's still a moderately high category. Kids getting on the bus this morning. 61, south wind 5 to 10. It's going to start picking up, though, with some gusts to 20. We're going to hold on to a gusty wind, partly cloudy at 3 o'clock, 85 degrees as they get off the bus. As we go through the rest of today, again, an isolated storm or two possible out west and to the north. Otherwise, we're hot, we're dry, and we are mostly clear, 91 today. Going into tonight, we are partly cloudy, 64 degrees for an overnight low. For Friday night football, the one advantage to the weather that we're seeing is it's going to be good weather tonight for football. 80 at kickoff, mostly clear. 76 at halftime, mostly clear. It's going to be warm, but at least the weather's going to be decent for that. Isolated storm or two possible tomorrow. 93 for the high, 96 on Sunday under partly cloudy skies. It's going to start to get really hot, and we got warmer nights ahead of us. With the wind today, keep an eye on your trash can. It may get knocked over with those gusts upwards of 20 miles an hour out of the south. We've been talking about the drought. Let's take a look at it. No change, as you can see. Good chunk of the area still in extreme drought, and the concern is with how dry we're going to be, some of the areas that partially recovered may start to slip back into a bad situation for the drought. The future track does show where we have those isolated stray storms possible tomorrow. Otherwise, we stay hot, we stay dry, we stay clear. Thursday, we were hoping for a cold front, which you can see off to our northwest. Cold front will come through. Unfortunately, we'll have no moisture with it, so it'll start to drop temperatures a little bit, but no rain is expected. In fact, we don't have any rain in the 7-day forecast other than the possibilities tomorrow. Highs really creep up there, upper 90s, pushing 100 degrees by the middle of the week. In fact, we don't have any rain chances until maybe Sunday of next weekend, which is not good for the drought situation whatsoever. A dog that loves to hang out on the roof of her house is becoming the talk of the town in Glendale, Arizona. Nala the Husky scales the balcony in her backyard to get up on the roof. Of course, it's drawn the attention and concern of people passing by. Christine Stanwood spoke with Nala's people who say she's perfectly fine. She's just keeping an eye on the neighborhood.
The envy can be seen from the lap dogs across the street.
And a lot of people love her. Honestly, they want to take pictures of her every time they see her.
The most popular girl on the block
It took several years, but she's famous now.
has a big responsibility.
They even have a security camera, but I think that's better than a security camera.
I believe she's our watchdog. She just sits up there. It's so funny.
Nala isn't your typical pet.
One person actually came and knocked on her door and thought she was a statue because she just stood there like she did not move at all.
She takes man's best friend,
A good watchdog.
as a full-time security detail.
We were just wondering, like, where's she barking from? We looked up and we saw she was on the roof.
Her owner's having to post on social media that she's not stuck on the shingles, but that doesn't stop the gawkers,
People are up and down the street.
even law enforcement from showing up. In fact, Glendale police showing up on a call about Nala while we were there. And like true form, there's Nala looking down from the rooftops. Neighbors giving Nala the nickname
Pigeon. It's funny because when she's up there, they're still up there, the pigeons. Nala.
When other family members couldn't provide the backyard Nala needed, Jason and his mom offered their home 2 years ago.
Now she's very happy and outgoing.
And she liberally took that freedom.
Oh, there, back up there again.
We try to give her a limit, like maybe like 20 minutes, half hour, but during the winter, she could stay out there as long as she wants. We don't mind. At the end of the day, you know, she's just enjoying the view out there.
Well, at the end, it looked like she fell off the roof, but I think she just rounded the corner. Well, her owners say Nala also has a pool in her backyard where she loves to take breaks and cool off. We got Healthwatch after this.
In Healthwatch this morning, new evidence presented at the European Association for the Study of Diabetes shows consuming red and processed meats increases the risk of type 2 diabetes. Italian researchers suggest swapping in moderate amounts of fish and eggs as substitutes. Incorporating lower or non-fat dairy like milk and yogurt were found to lower risk. A diet rich in whole grains, fiber, fish, and omega-3 fatty acids may reduce the risk of death from all causes for adults with type 2 diabetes. I'm telling you, eat that fish. German researchers reviewed dozens of studies over a decade and linked these foods to favorable changes in blood pressure, cholesterol, blood sugar levels, and anti-inflammatory effects. Finally, some relief for infants and young children with eczema. A study published in The Lancet found more than half of children treated with a monoclonal antibody had at least 75% reduction in signs of eczema and itch. They also slept through the night instead of scratching. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
All right, as we head through the rest of the day, we may have an isolated shower storm in our western and northern counties through noon. Otherwise, we stay dry, mostly clear, an afternoon high of 91. Heading into tonight, we're partly cloudy. Overnight lows dropping back down to about 64 degrees. For Friday night football, the one advantage to the dry weather is it's going to be good on the field tonight. 80 at kickoff, 76 at halftime. Warm and mostly clear otherwise, so not bad. And then the weekend, a stray storm or two possible Saturday. Most of us dry, 93, 96 on Sunday as we really start to heat up. And you can see that on the 7-day forecast, where temperatures next week rise to near, if not at, 100 degrees as we stay clear and dry. We're back after this.
Coming up, authorities in Parsons, Kansas find an explosive device.
We got a really nice start to the day today, but temperatures are going to rise and they're going to continue to do so. We'll talk about it coming up.
And the city of Caney, Kansas declares a water emergency.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is now 6:20.
Do not turn the clock back.
6:30.
We will fall back eventually, but we're not doing it today.
6:29:12. It's 6:29:12.
Oh yeah, I forgot. You've got the
yeah, but I have to move.
Hyper-accurate
all my stuff to get to it.
There's a hyper-accurate clock in there. Sometimes I feel like we need to remind folks that there's little
Most of the
monitors
time
in there.
it's up there and it says it, but you have it on this continuous clock.
No, see, like right in the middle.
Yeah.
The middle one and this one over here say it.
I look on the left one and it's moving today.
Oh.
That's why I was like 6:29.
Hold on, it's 5 to 6. Okay, hold on. Something's not right with this clock.
You're messing with me.
That's what my job is. Okay, so
normally it's in the prompter.
There's the static one too. There you go. Is that helpful? Tim's trying to help you out.
It is not 5:29. It is 6:29. If you needed to be up and out of the house before 5:30, you're in trouble.
Yeah, like what happened to me on Monday. That was a great day. Hey, but it is a finally Friday now.
Speaking of Monday, though.
What'd I do?
Let's mention Monday again.
Oh, yes. This Monday, we almost, it's kind of slipped our minds. It's an unusual situation. On Monday, the Queen's funeral is taking place. Now, it's on London time, which means we will not have the KOAM morning news at 5 or 6 a.m. We'll have a couple of updates, but outside of that, we will not have a morning show on the KOAM side due to coverage of the Queen's funeral. However, we will have the KOAM morning news over on Fox 14, and that'll start promptly at 7 a.m. So make sure you join us there for that. Otherwise, the Queen's funeral to Monday morning here on KOAM.
You do have a few days left if you want to zip over to London and join them. She is lying in state until the funeral on Monday.
That is true. That is true. And you got good weather at least to get out of the airport because we are high and dry. Rain out to our west may skirt our western and northern counties. Otherwise, the majority of us going to remain dry today. 7th range line. Sun slowly starting to come up. Temperatures looking good. 64 degrees in Joplin right now. 60s across the area. 66, the warm spot in Yates Center. We got Jay, the cool spot at 54, and 64 in Carthage and Lamar. Allergies also very high right now. Today we're looking at a 9.2 out of 12. Tomorrow an 8.3 out of 12. And I want to just dive right into the 7-day forecast real quick. Because as you can see, we are going to be 91 today. We head into the mid to upper 90s through the weekend. And then look at next week where highs reach, if not approach, 100 degrees. And we stay hot and dry.
Yes. Too hot, too dry.
too hot and too dry. And that's what's led to some concerns in Caney, Kansas that you're going to talk to us about.
That's right. The state of Kansas, of course, as Chris said, is in a drought. But there's a water emergency in the community of Caney. KOAM's Yana Hatula has more.
Extreme drought and lack of rain has pushed the city of Caney in Kansas to take serious action to its water usage.
We asked the town when we first had a meeting that we needed to conserve water as best as possible. And then, of course, with no rain and coming in either up north or here in Caney, has caused us to take the next step, which is going to be the water emergency class 2.
The city has been warning and asking its citizens to lessen water use for about 30 days now.
As you drive through town, you still see people that were watering their flowers and the grass and using the water, and it's just some people just didn't take it seriously. It is the first time that something like this has really came up where we had to go to this extent.
According to City of Caney, water can be used for personal hygiene, but not for any commercial, agricultural, or industrial purposes.
Every house in town is going to get a door tag that says, hey, we're in a water emergency and now you guys have to start conserving water.
Police chief from Caney says they are not used to being the water police.
While our patrol officers are out patrolling, I've instructed them if they see somebody watering that's not supposed to be watering, to just stop and talk to them and explain the situation.
The chief expects residents to respect and take the situation seriously. If there are problems with obeying the rules, there may be disconnection of services or police will take action for the use of unnecessary water.
Probably a citation to appear in court, and then they would have to appear in court, the city court.
For now, the city is only hoping for rainfall. The mayor has been looking for other water sources and contacted another rural water district close to Caney.
They would not be able to supply all of the water, but talking to them, it looks like they could supply us at least 40%.
In Caney, Yana Hautala, KOAM News.
The city is still unsure how long the emergency stage will last. Authorities in Parsons, Kansas discover an explosive device in a residential area. They say they received a call at around 2 p.m. on Thursday for a suspicious object in the 2700 block of Durr. When they arrived, they tested the device, and the result was positive for explosive material. The Kansas Highway Patrol Hazardous Device Unit came and disposed of the device. There's still no word yet on a suspect. Authorities urge anyone with information to contact the Parsons Police Department. An Ozark County woman got a 4-year prison sentence on Thursday in connection with her daughter's death. Prosecutors had argued that Rebecca Rude drugged and beat her 16-year-old daughter, Savannah Leckie, back in 2017. But Rude's defense claimed Leckie killed herself and that Rude panicked and burned the body. A jury found her not guilty of first-degree murder back in July, but convicted her on a charge of abandoning a corpse. Since Rude spent the past 5 years since her arrest in jail, she will get credit for that time served and will soon be released. Freeman Health System begins construction on a new office building in Joplin. The $10 million project will feature 3 stories and more than 30,000 square feet of space. Officials say it'll offer patients convenient access to dermatology services, general surgery, pain management, and urology. The new building will be near Freeman West, which officials say is beneficial for doctors.
So a lot of times when you go to a physician, they order procedures or tests, and you have to go to other places to get those done. So we think it'd be more convenient to have physicians as well as the testing facilities consolidated as close together as we can get them.
If all goes as planned, construction should be complete in November of next year. That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News, our very own Shannon Becker is in studio this morning. Hi, Shannon. Yeah, he's going to tell us his big 3 stories of the week.
And we have got a hot week ahead of us. We're going to talk weather here in just a few minutes.
Welcome back. It is Friday, and that means we have Shannon Becker in studio to give us his big 3 stories of the week.
Where's that drum roll? Come on, you know? I'm going on like 20 minutes sleep. Let's hit it, all right? Number 3 this week, Joplin News First, because we're out and about letting you know what's happening. This was on Monday, a missing child in Oklahoma. It brought together more than 20 agencies, over 100 people searching throughout the day. and the child was found deceased about 6 o'clock Monday evening. Authorities there are saying it is not a criminal investigation, but more information could be released. The funeral is coming up on the 19th. There's a GoFundMe
Where
also.
in Oklahoma was this?
Okemah, if you know where that is. It's not very far, about 2 hours away from here.
Okay.
So a tragic story. Our number 2 story, Joplin News First. You saw this live. It was an SUV that rear-ended a Joplin school bus in Duquesne. Extensive damage to that SUV. And a lot of people don't realize, but at that time of morning, 7:30 in the morning, this time of year, the changing of the seasons, sun right in your face.
Oh, yeah.
So the SUV driver did not see the bus, went to change lanes and hit the bus. No one was injured. Even the driver of that SUV wasn't injured. No kids on the bus were injured. There were probably about 15 on the bus. Our number 1 story, this is really a neat thing they do every year. Baxter Springs Fire Auxiliary sponsor this event for the entire area. Firefighters from other states even participated. The 9/11 stair climb to remember the 343 firefighters who died on 9/11. These are the ladies who organize it every year for Baxter Fire Auxiliary. And every climber will wear a badge like that that tells a story about someone who died on 9/11.
Oh, wow.
So it's really inspiring, and there's actually some history to it too. So
It's really hard to believe it's been 20
I know, it's crazy. I worked at KOAM 21 years ago when it happened.
I was reading your post
yeah.
about that. I was in college.
And then you were a child, thanks. No, seriously. Now this is one of my favorite stories I have done so far at KOAM. This is a hometown, born and raised, Jen Schott, #1 now on the country charts. She wrote the Tim McGraw song. It's called 7500 OBO, 7500 or Best Offer.
It's a good song.
Oh, it's really a good
song.
It went #1 on the country charts for radio airplay just like about 6 weeks ago, but those things kind of last for a long time. She was here in town, 2017, she played a special Ronald McDonald House charity show at the Bicknell Family Center with Barry Dean and some other people, and played a really neat song that she had written that Natalie Hemby had recorded. It's called This Town, and talked about her dad, Robert Schott, who actually had passed away from cancer many, many years ago. But then she shared different names of people from the area. Dan Willis from KKOW, as she did the song. So we've got it on our Facebook page and on our website, KOAM News Now. I'm not kidding, I have goosebumps. I'm so excited for her. That's her first #1. She's been in Nashville since 1997 as a full-time songwriter. She's had plenty of hits, but a #1, that's great. That's cool.
Yeah, I would love to meet her someday.
Oh,
I've
she's
heard
awesome.
a lot about her, and
She's not tall.
She comes back every now and then.
Yeah. She's not tall, so she'll need one of them stools to get, get around you. So
It's all right. You feel like sticking around for another hour?
I will. Yes.
Pending breaking news.
Yes. Watch out, unless I have to leave. Yeah, you're right.
All right. Thank you so much. We'll be right back.
Okay, we've got a birthday list that is about 6 miles long. In all my time doing the mornings, this is the first time I've ever seen it on 2 pages.
Oh, it happens.
This is the first time I've seen it happen, so we got a lot to get through. So we start with Jace Taylor turning 5, and this comes with love from Mama and Papa. Happy birthday.
All right. We've got Kinsey Fecky celebrating birthday number 6. You are looking just like your mama there, Kinsey. Living in Neosho, loves to dance and be creative.
All right, we've also got Crew Burns turning 6 over in St. Paul. Now, Crew's birthday was yesterday, so it means double birthday celebration. And this comes with love from Grandma Judy and Papa.
All right, and Dirk Blackburn celebrating birthday number 8 this year in Parsons with love from Nana and Papa.
And we've got Dominic Stewart turning 8 in McCune. A very happy birthday to you, Dominic.
All right, McKenna Jennings celebrating birthday number 9 this year. McKenna is in Jasper.
And we've got Lakin Schulte turning 10, and she's a 4th grader at Seneca Intermediate. Happy birthday, Lakin.
In Carl Junction, also turning 10, Marley Mordecai is celebrating this weekend.
And we've got Tatum Laney Smith turning 12 in Nevada, and she's pictured there with her puppy Olive, and this comes with love from the family. Happy birthday, Tatum.
Out in Oswego, Cooper O'Brien celebrating birthday number 15 this year.
And we've got Derek Wagner in Webb City turning 16, and this comes with love from Mom, and that is one Heck of a catch, Derek. Happy birthday.
I like that. And Adrian Stilley celebrating birthday number 18 this year. Adrian is in Humboldt with love from Mom, Bailey, and Peyton.
And we've got Kaylee Ware in Arma turning 22. Happy birthday. Her birthday was yesterday. Another double birthday situation, which is appropriate because she's 2 and 2. So double the birthday fun. And this, Kaylee teaches pre-K at the Family Resource Center in Pittsburgh. Happy birthday.
All right. And Erin Brumbaugh turning the big 3-0 this year in Pittsburgh. Pictured here, it says with her son Liam. There's 2 kids in the picture though, so I'm not sure which one that one is. But Erin, happy birthday with love from the family.
And we've got Eliza Massa turning 1. Oh, that's what's going on. She's pictured with her son and her daughter who's turning 1-year-old. And of course, this comes with love from the family.
Oh, I should have read ahead. I'm sorry about that.
That
makes sense. Okay, so Liam would be obviously the older one in the picture. And then we've got Eliza on the right.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're figuring it out.
All right.
It's
Well,
Friday.
happy birthday to Erin and Eliza. And be good to them, Liam. There you go. Chad Harris celebrating birthday number 45 in Jasper.
And we've got Eddie Sanchez turning 51 in Joplin yesterday. Another double birthday. This comes with love from your daughter, Anna.
All right, David Holler turning 54 years old this year. David is our morning show producer, Corinza Holler Cook's father. She sent in a special message to Dad. Happy birthday to the best dad ever. Love your favorite child, Andrew.
So hold on, is Drew the favorite child? I'm a little confused.
Well, Drew would be her husband.
Moving on, Jim Burns turning 65 in Erie, Kansas.
I really confused Chris just now. I'll explain later.
Jim's birthday is on Sunday. This comes with love from the family. Happy birthday, Jim.
All right, Donna Largen celebrating birthday number 73 this year out in Stark City with love from the family.
And we've got an anniversary. Ron and Edna Sufert in Iola celebrating their golden anniversary number 50. Happy anniversary to you too.
All right, and it's another Holler celebration. We've got Martin and Nancy Holler celebrating 57 years together, and there pictured in between them is Corinza, and these are her grandparents. With a special message from Corinza. You guys have always been there for me. I love you so much. Happy anniversary with love from Corinza.
I'm not getting involved in the Holler family anymore because I obviously don't know anything. All right, our birthday list continues. Nora Lee Chad turning 88 in Cherokee with love from the Crestline girls, as well as Molly Sturger turning 88 in Arma. Ken and Bonnie Feist celebrating an anniversary in Chatopa, and Joe and Tammy Creviston celebrating their 9th anniversary in Iola. Now, if you'd like to send us something, Tanya's going to tell you how to do that.
Yeah, just log on and send us an email. It's really easy to get to us. All you do is email us at birthdays with an S, don't forget that S, at KOAMnewstv.com, or send them to birthdays with an S at KOAMnewsnow.com.
Boy, it's
Same
a Friday.
email either way.
It's a Friday here, and while you're at our website, make sure you check out the KOAM Birthday Club, which you saw a second ago. Great deals from local businesses. Just go to our website and make sure you get signed up. All right, weather. We're looking at some rain and thunderstorms out to our west. These may clip our western and northern counties. I think most of us are going to stay dry because you can see where they're kind of fizzling out. There's some redevelopment behind there, so we'll watch them. Keep our fingers crossed. Maybe these will take a more easterly track and give a few more of us some rain, like Caney, Kansas, for example, dealing with a severe situation out there with water restrictions in place. 7th and range line, sun is rising, 64 degrees as we start the day. We've got good temperatures around the area, 65 Yates Center, 63 Chanute and Parsons, 61 Pittsburgh, 64 in Carthage as we start the day. We're also looking at some allergies, and they are not getting any better, unfortunately. 9.2 out of 12 today, and an 8.3 out of 12 for tomorrow. That's the moderately high category. Kids getting on the bus this morning, which they are set to do so here in about 10 minutes. It'll be 61, partly cloudy, south breeze. It'll start picking up, and we're going to see gusts upwards of 20. Then as they head home, we're looking at partly cloudy skies, 85 degrees at 3 o'clock. Going through today, again, those isolated storm chances, which I'll watch the Skywatch storm tracker, and I will do everything I can to get that line to just roll east instead of drifting off to the northeast and missing us. Otherwise, the isolated storm chances through about noon. Otherwise, we are mostly clear, 91 for a high today. As we go into tonight, we're partly cloudy with an overnight low of 64 degrees. Friday night football is tonight, and it's going to be good weather on the field. That's the only plus to it being dry and warm. Good weather, 80 at kickoff, 76 at halftime, mostly clear skies. A bit warm, but not bad for a Friday night football night. Again, an isolated storm chance or two tomorrow, 93, 96 Sunday, partly cloudy skies. With the wind today, do keep an eye on your trash can. It could get blown over out there with those gusts up to 20. Then we're looking at the drought situation, which, as you can see, still a large chunk of the area up there in the extreme drought category. And we are, with the weather we have coming up, or the lack of weather coming up, some of the areas in southwest Missouri, for example, that partially recovered may end up going back into extreme drought conditions because it's going to be so hot and dry for so long. Future track will show us where we might have those isolated storms tomorrow. Otherwise, we stay high and dry, and we stay hot on top of that. And then the future track still working. There's a sliver of rain in northwest Missouri. Otherwise, it's hot, it's dry, and it's clear as we head through the majority of next week. We had a cold front Thursday, which you can see here off to our northwest. We hoped it would bring us some rain and cooler temperatures. Well, it's going to bring us some cooler temperatures, but no rain, unfortunately. So let's look at the 7-day forecast. Going that far out, we're looking at a high of 100 on Wednesday in September under mostly clear skies all week long. Very hot, very dry. That cold front does bring temperatures down gradually. Our next best chance of rain isn't until next Sunday. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that and the drought situation. And it is now time for us to honor today's four-state hero, Eugene Hartwell. Private First Class Hartwell served in the Army from 1942 to 1945, served in the European Theater with the U.S. 29th Infantry Division during his service here in the Purple Heart, Good Conduct Medal, and Bronze Star. A native of Parsons, we thank you, today's four-state hero, Eugene Hartwell.
Here's the check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. Authorities in Parsons, Kansas discover an explosive device in the 2700 block of Durr at around 2 p.m. on Thursday. When they arrived, they tested the device and the result was positive for explosive material. Kansas Highway Patrol Hazardous Device Unit disposed of the device. An Ozark County woman receives a 4-year prison sentence in connection with her daughter's death. Prosecutors had argued that Rebecca Rude drugged and beat her 16-year-old daughter Savannah Leckie in 2017. A jury found her not guilty of first-degree murder last July, but convicted her on a charge of abandoning a corpse. Scores of images and videos have emerged in recent days of Russian tanks, armored vehicles, and other military equipment abandoned by forces in their hasty retreat from the Kharkiv region. Analysts say the Russia's tank division may have lost half of its combat power, and the Ukrainian military says 590 pieces of Russian equipment have been destroyed. And 20-time Grand Slam champion Roger Federer is hanging up his racket in a post on social media Thursday. Federer announced his retirement from competitive tennis. Federer said next week's Laver Cup in London will be his last ATP event. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Still watching the chance of a stray storm or two out west or to the north through about noon. Otherwise, mostly clear, 91 degrees for an afternoon high. Going into tonight, we stay partly cloudy, overnight low of 64 degrees. Friday night football tonight, and it's going to be a good night for it at least. We've got good weather. 80 degrees at kickoff, 76 at halftime under mostly clear skies. So a little bit warm, but otherwise not bad for football. 93 Saturday with another isolated storm chance out there. 96 on Sunday under partly cloudy skies. And a look at the 7-day forecast shows us what we do not want to see. Temperatures approaching, if not reaching, 100 degrees by the middle of next week. And no real rain chances for the next several days.
All right, well, coming up today at noon, we're making wonton egg drop soup. It's one of the easiest egg drop soup recipes you can make in the Mr. Food Test kitchen.
And your morning news continues on KOAM with CBS Mornings. The director of the World Health Organization says the end of the COVID pandemic is in sight. Ahead on CBS Mornings, Dr. David Agus tells us if we can let our guard down. Or you can switch over with us on Fox, and we'll see you then at 7. Have a great morning.